part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Look up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane,
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action.
This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Bryan.
You're listening to the Krypton Report.
Welcome to the Krypton Report podcast. This episode, we are wrapping up our special crossover with Bryan the guys as we bring the fourth chapter of the DCEU. The Error, or not. This is our big finale, and we couldn't do this just me and Bryan, so we had to bring in some of the boys. As you know him, the man in red, not Santa Claus or Shazam, but Mr. James Cole. Welcome, James.
Hey, what's up?
And that guy who's out there fighting crime on the weekends, dressed as a bat, looks like a bat, Finch.
I dig it.
BPM the Finch.
Hey, reunited.
Yay, Finch.
And I'm Tyler, sick, but I'm here. Couldn't miss this.
Great.
I sound like shit.
You sound like a mixture of Lois Lane and Jesus.
What the heck?
Well,
Don't know
that's
what
wonderful.
That would sound like.
Sounds like that.
Yeah.
It sounds like that.
Sounds like that, yeah.
All
and
right,
it's
fellas.
not like Kate Bosworth, Lois.
She was not my favorite.
She is. She was my bottom. But Jania, last time we watched Superman Returns, Jania started pointing out some stuff, and I'm going to, next year when we rewatch it, I'm going to have her give her presentation on how Kate Bosworth is actually a better Lois than Amy Adams. It was very convincing. So I just got to get it recorded.
I know I've heard her arguments before, but still, Amy's not very good. But Kate is just, oh, gosh, what the hell?
I know. She made you want to hate Lois. I mean, my opinion, but
No, it's a good opinion.
It
I
is a
share
good
that opinion.
But here we are, man, in the last run of films. And
Part 4, The Quest for Peace.
part 4, The Quest for Something.
so which ones are we talking about today?
I don't know what it's a quest for unless you're talking about utter failure.
This,
Quest for more money.
so it's Shazam 2,
I mean, it's
The
not
Flash,
Spaceballs, the
Aquaman
quest
2,
for more money.
and Guns announcement.
That would have made more money than this.
It would have. So part 1 was on Bryan the guys, and we did Man of Steel, Man of Steel, BVS, Wonder Woman, and then Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then part 2 was on Krypton Report. We did Justice League. No, we did Snyder Cut. Then we talked about the Crisis Theory, and then Justice League, then Suicide Squad, and then
Wonder Woman and Aquaman.
Yeah, Aquaman.
Wonder Woman and Aquaman. I just listened to it yesterday. So.
My man.
And then
That's what I need to finish.
Part 3 was Birds of Prey, 84, The Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, and Black Adam.
Yes.
So where's Blue Beetle?
So
we're leaving Blue Beetle out.
we're very confident Blue Beetle is not part of this. Like, it's like early DCU. Like,
because
new DCU.
I mean, he's kind of even said that, so.
Yeah, and I feel like it's not enough tying into everything. And since they've kind of been wishy-washy about where it fits, I feel like it's kind of this outlier. So I'm comfortable with not including it at the moment. I mean, if we have to go back later and talk about it, it's fine. But at the moment, I'm good.
Are we gonna get into the James Gunn? Are you gonna pull sound clips of that?
Probably in post.
Yeah, because only
you at least
have a transcript of what he says that we can go off of?
My only problem with putting sound clips in is, like, you can get flagged by certain places and it won't put your podcast up for using copyrighted information unless you have privileges. So,
well,
I had that happen when I tried to do a tribute to Kevin Conroy, and I had him sing "I Am the Night, I Am Batman." It flagged me. It wouldn't let my podcast go up in certain places.
Well, I think we can at least remember what he said.
So let's get into this. This year,
Shazam 2.
So to take it back, this is where everything's a mess. This is where you have DeLuca leading the charge, but then at the beginning of the year, now all these movies were announced and supposed to be coming out in 2022. You guys remember that wonderful trailer we got? The World Needs Heroes trailer?
Yep.
You guys remember that?
Yes, I do.
I believe so.
It was the one trailer that cut up and had scenes from The Batman,
stuff, right?
Shazam, Aquaman, and The Flash all in it in one trailer.
Was that the one that was announced at DC Fandom?
It was
I think they dropped it at DC Fandom.
They actually had it in theaters.
Yeah, it was one they played before movies and stuff in the theater.
And I was like, that's smart marketing, one trailer for all films. And then like 2 weeks later, they announced everything was getting reshuffled. Aquaman was moved almost an entire year. And so all the movies that were supposed to be out in 2022 were pushed to 2023. And by January 31st of 2023 is when James Gunn drops his announcement on what his plans are. Now, my question to you guys, as movie fans, knowing that the universe is ending, does that affect your excitement for a film or not?
For me, a little bit. Like, I think, well, actually, I would say no, because I think I was personally more intrigued about, like, how it was going to wrap up. Like, so as Shazam 2 happened, I wanted to see kind of, like, where they were going. Like, if this movie would tell me that they're going to continue Shazam and, like, how they're going to do it. And going into Shazam, that's how I felt. And then going into this Flash, I was very excited about, like, how Flashpoint would take into things, like how it would reboot things. But then once I watched Flash, going into Blue Beetle, even though we know it's not part of it, going into Blue Beetle, I was very interested, like, how that would affect into this somewhat new George Clooney world. But once Blue Beetle came out, then my interest was gone, because I knew how it wrapped up in The Flash. So once Aquaman 2 came out, I was only curious of, like, if it would reference something in The Flash. But, like, I guess my curiosity just stayed kind of interested into how it was going to tie in wrapping stuff up, I guess you could say.
Makes sense. So let's start. Shazam 2 comes out in March, and it really felt like there was no marketing for this movie. Out of all the DC movies that come out this year, I think Shazam had the least amount of marketing, or even, like, I never saw any merch for this at all. The only thing
McFarlane.
Only thing I saw was the McFarlane Shazam figure and the McFarlane Wonder Woman figure. That was it. Now, I saw some people post online that certain stores had some Shazam stuff, but I never saw anything.
I think the only other thing I saw was, like, a Halloween costume, his new costume.
And now I do want to state that all of these films were delayed and then pushed out after COVID. So they weren't like the movies that started right, like we talked about The Suicide Squad. It finished filming right before the shutdown. So, like, and then The Batman was in production, even though we're not talking about that. All these movies were pushed to after COVID. And you can kind of feel it. Because with Shazam 2, okay, let's get into this movie. I've come to like this movie more and more. I've watched it, but I do have some problems with it. My first biggest problem with this film is people said that Zach Levi is doing a different character version. He's not. The difference is there's no Asher Angel to balance it in this movie. Because me and the kids did a double.
Absolutely agree.
We watched Shazam, and then we watched Shazam 2 last week. Or maybe it was 2
I just watched it last night, so, yeah.
And I feel like because he's just Shazam the whole time, it feels like too much. But you don't get that. Like, there is no Billy. And then the deleted scenes have a lot more Billy in them. Because even Solomon pointed out, like, that scene should have been in the movie. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Because we needed more Billy. I don't like the whole aging out thing. It doesn't work for me because in the first movie, he's only 14. So this movie's, it's not full. If what the factors that really help you establish a timeline is Mary in college, it really gives us the vibe that she just started junior college, because that was the feel we got from the first movie, to stay with the family. But technically, she should be getting ready to graduate or be in her third year of college.
That's where it makes no sense, because why should he be afraid of aging out if Mary's like going into college, like really close to going into college in the first movie? It's like 4 years later. She would be maybe halfway through college already, and she's still living with the family. She's at least 21 because we see her drinking.
Right. So, like, she's still living there. Yeah. And there, Freddie even says Billy's only a month older than him. So Freddie would be about to age out as well. And that's never brought up. So, but the issues that they have as the Shazam family feel like the kind of issues you would only have months after getting your powers, not years after been doing this. So that is my biggest issue with this story is I don't mind the subplot of Billy now trying to get into the ability to call Rosa mom. I think that's good. I think that brings back the family, and it brings back the heart of him accepting her as mom. Like, he's accepted them as family, and he's accepting to call her mom. I think that's good. I think that should have been more. Part of what I didn't like about what they did with Shazam was I felt it took the family too much out of the film. And I mean the family as in like the foster parents. And I think that was the heart of the movie. Other than that, I think the villains were a little weak. And I pitched this to Bryan and James that I kind of wish the ending had been like a Pirates of the Caribbean 2 ending, where Wonder Woman shows up and sends the kids on a quest to the underworld to rescue Billy's soul. And I think that would have been really dope. But that's kind of my quick take on Shazam 2. What do you guys go? Let's start with James.
I mean, you bring up a lot of good points with the Zachary Levi, because, you know, that is one thing. They seemed, even as little as Asher Angel was in it, they seemed like they were different people. But, you know, he is. It was. I haven't rewatched it since we watched it last.
I find myself gravitating towards it because it's just an easy one to throw in the background and just kind of enjoy in the background and like laugh and smile to. And the kids really like it too, so that helps.
Right. Well, the thing that gets me the most about it, honestly, is the fact that it was so many things were shortchanged in the sequel when the first movie was so well put together. It's a problem that all of these movies have especially had, with so many hands and turning these movies in so many different directions. I mean, it's one thing, to let the movie tell its story and then build from that, instead of trying to change the story that's been told, that's been shot. This idea of fix it in post doesn't exactly spell good for the best world building, the best extended universe storytelling.
Agreed. Finch, what are your thoughts?
Like I mentioned, I just rewatched it last night, and I appreciated it a lot more than before. One of my biggest things was just Zachary Levi being too kid-like. Like, we're going to probably get into more of this, but it seems like all the sequels just amped everything up and just, I don't know, and allowed the characters to, like, go over the top. Momoa did it, Levi did it, Wonder Woman, I guess, like the
Patty Jenkins did it.
Yeah, there you go. We'll say Patty Jenkins did it.
Listen to this guy. He knows what we're talking about.
Because I feel, just to jump back to one, I feel like Gal was still doing a great performance, but I feel like it was the people behind it, like,
Yeah, like they wanted too much going on in that movie,
Yeah.
But like I said, I appreciated it a lot more rewatching it last night. And even then, like I was watching it, the villains, I didn't hate the villains. I know a lot of people are like, oh, they're lesser villains. Like they didn't really, but knowing everything we know about like how I believe the plan was for Shazam to fight Black Adam, but then obviously that got scrapped and they had to rework everything. And it's like, they just kind of did what they did with, using the Daughters of Atlas instead of, more Sivana, because it's like we don't want just a rehash of the first movie. I appreciated it a lot more, but it definitely still has a lot of flaws. And the fact that they were the Shazam family more often than the kids, I think, kind of hurt it a little bit.
I agree. I wish it would have got a little bit more into more Greek mythology and just the world building. I don't know if any of you are currently reading Mark Waid's Shazam run. It's really good. And his Dawn of DC. And he gets into something that could have been really interesting in this film had the comic, come out before this movie. But all right,
can
Bryan,
I add one more thing before Bryan goes? Sorry.
No, go for it.
Take all the time you want, buddy.
Well, my other thing was I did appreciate was the Wonder Woman cameo at the end when she basically revives him, because that kind of touches on James Gunn's announcement. And as you were asking earlier about like how we felt about the announcement coming out, and like did that like drive up our anticipation or like lower it? I feel like just like when she showed up and she was like, oh, there's no more gods, and then she like uses the magic and whatever, it's like, he announced his next chapter being like Gods and Monsters, right? I believe that's what it's called. And so that was, I don't know, like that got my hopes up for what could be, gonna happen, but nothing came of it. So.
Like keeping Gal, and because she's a god, Yeah. Well.
All right, so Bryan's turn. And my thing was, we'll talk about it in the Flash. Go, Bryan.
So I watched this for the second time a few weeks ago, preparing, for the big old end of an era podcast here. I don't hate this movie. I don't love it though. Like my wife and I, my wife, not a big comic book person at all, but we saw Shazam 1 together, and she absolutely loved it. Like loved it. Like walking out of that movie, my wife's like, that movie was amazing, and we even went to see like Joker together, which is totally unrelated. And my wife's like, that movie's cinema. So like, just there's moments where my wife's like, I love this character and I love this movie and it's something that I love. Like I go for that. So when Shazam 2 came out, I was excited to see it with my wife, and my wife was interested in it too. But I kind of felt like it just, you needed more with the kids. Like the whole movie is all about like him realizing that he has a family now, like not being afraid of a family. And like my family's not very close, so I kind of like really relate to that. And like my dad left when I was a baby, so like I really relate to that too. So like, and his mom being the greatest villain of all time in DC, you know,
even Darkseid's like, dang girl.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was all about like him accepting that there's good in him and that he can be loved. And then we go in the second movie and like it kind of felt like in the first movie they totally planned for him to probably face Black Adam. But in this movie, it would have been better for him to share his powers in this movie and then create that Shazam family because he's facing the daughter of Atlas. Like, it would have been a good story if he didn't share his powers in the first one. And then he's like, I need my family that I have to beat this family. Like, family is what's going to keep us together and keep this theme of needing a family. And the Daughters of Atlas were okay, but I don't think they were strong enough of a villain. And definitely what hurt this movie is not enough time with the kids. The aging out story was really weird. This movie was kind of more of a Freddy movie almost.
Yeah.
There's a lot of focus on Freddy, and Freddy, like it's like they flipped it, because in the first movie it's all about Billy realizing that he needs other people, and then this movie is more seeing Freddy needs his family too. Like he, you know, it was just, so that was kind of like awkward with that. I also probably would have had Billy die. Only because, like, if we're going to do something, I would have had Billy, like, really die. I wouldn't have had anybody save him. And then usher on to the future. So maybe because they weren't going to do Shazam 3, they had Wonder Woman come in. I don't really know. I think something was missing with that storyline. But I probably would add in, more importantly, the story of the mom. I can't remember her name. What's the character's name?
Rosa?
The foster mom.
Rosa?
Yeah. So, like, the whole first movie is how he lost his mom and he wanted to find his mom. And then in this movie, he's kind of not accepting Rosa. So I would have really focused in this movie of him accepting Rosa, and maybe Billy came to life because of something Rosa did and not Wonder Woman. Or if we're going to come with a resurrection. Or Rosa has to go into the doors and kind of like save Billy and the family. And then Billy realizes, something like that.
Much stronger to have the mom play a role in saving the son.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely. Because the emotional toll near the end of him accepting Rosa as mom, it didn't have a proper build. Like, it didn't have a proper story build to make that so impactful. So if Rosa would have had a bigger role and kind of like saved Billy and like something like that, it would have been good, because it would have played back to the first movie where his mom just like, hey, I have to go work at the diner or whatever, bye. I felt this movie could have been more powerful, and there's a lot of it upped things, and it didn't up the things that really need to be upped.
I feel like the first movie they were like, oh, we don't know if we'll get a second one, so we're going to put everything into it. We'll have the Shazam family. Yeah. And then this one they were like, oh crap, we kind of painted ourselves in a corner.
That's how it was with Aquaman too. Like you and I have talked about this in 2018, man. Like, if you were going to do one Aquaman movie, there you go. I would have had them earlier,
like lose their powers faster, like, but whatever. But yeah, like I like this movie. I think it got a lot of hate that it didn't deserve.
It wasn't marketed at all, and what marketing was, it wasn't marketed right. It wasn't marketed as a family film. I mean, hell, you could have marketed it as an Easter film. I don't know, Taste the Rainbow, whatever, something.
Yeah, it just kind of came out, and people were like, oh, that's out. Like, it already felt like DC. They didn't care because our next film is The Flash, where they dumped all of their marketing money. This was like the complete 180 of everything. They threw so much into marketing for this movie, but they weren't marketing The Flash.
They were marketing Keaton.
And they were
you want to get marketing? Come on.
And they lied. They even had Tom Cruise say it was the best movie
ever.
I mean, yeah. But, okay, so The Flash.
Do we want to go right into talk about The Flash, or we want to wrap up with The Flash? Because it's kind of like the universe rebirth.
It's supposed to be, but it's not. Because because that's the thing with The Flash is there were 3 endings filmed for The Flash under each division of management at Warner Brothers. So the first thing with The Flash to point out is you have the scene at the end with Aquaman, which is a completely horrible scene, but it has important dialogue because he says, on every other Earth, you were the same, Arthur, but Batman was different. Thus, there's your back door of how some people can be the same actor in whatever the new universe was going to be.
Thank you. Somebody else gets it. Thank you.
But the scene is so crappy, and it's just Jason Momoa falling around drunk, that you don't get it. Because they're playing Aquaman for laughs again instead of him being the serious character that he was made to be. Now, the other thing with Flash is the first ending was supposed to be, I don't remember all the order, but the DeLuca ending had Henry Cavill showing up at the end. So you had Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman, and Supergirl. Then you had, that was the DeLuca ending. So that was the second ending. The first ending was going to be Michael Keaton as Batman with Supergirl. That was under Walter Hamada. And then James Gunn decided, because they knew they were rebooting and they were done with Ezra Miller, but they didn't want to say they were done with Ezra Miller, decided to do the joke ending with George Clooney. Like, George Clooney was never going to be like an ongoing character. Like, it was just a joke as a button. And even then, The Flash wasn't made like we thought it was going to be to really reboot the universe. It was just kind of a ha-ha to go out on. Like, it was not engineered to be the big reboot that we all thought it was going to be. Like that. So those are worth pointing out of just how every film we'll talk about has been tinkered with and messed with somewhere down the line in post. Okay, now here comes the Flash rant. I love the character of the Flash. I didn't mind
Which
Ezra
one?
Miller. See? I didn't mind Ezra Miller in Zack Snyder's Justice League. And once again, you can say, like, in sequels, because this is kind of a adjacent sequel, you start turning up the wrong stuff.
Just what Finch said.
Yes.
He knows. He gets it.
So, this movie went through so much production hell.
How many different writers did it have? How many
A
different
lot.
writers director?
I can't even keep track of it because there's so many.
I figured you probably would try.
I had it, but then I was reading more. There was people that came in and wrote that I even forgot. Because at one point, Grant Morrison was writing a script for it.
And
With
Lord
Ezra
and Miller.
Morrison and Ezra Miller.
You had the Lord and Miller, and then you had the I can't think of his name. I was thinking he was on Bones. He was
David
in
Boreanaz.
Freaks and Geeks.
James Franco.
He directed the Game Night. John Francis Daley, who also wrote Spider-Man: Homecoming. Like, they were attached at one point to direct and write. So you had Rick Famuyiwa, who was going to direct and write. And then you have all this. So, like, they couldn't get the movie going.
Wasn't it announced, like, the third day that The Flash came out?
The day,
The TV show?
the day after the Flash TV show premiered, it was announced that Ezra Miller had been cast as the Flash in Justice League and that he would have his own solo film. And then here we are just a month after the Flash finishes season 9, the Flash movie comes out. Okay.
And they put together a movie that is all fan service.
Get him, James. Get him.
Just having Michael Keaton repeat lines he spoke
out of context
30 years ago, out of context.
All right, everyone's going to get their rant time. Here's my rant time.
Yes.
Okay, this movie's budget ballooned huge. First of all, don't film somewhere where you have to spend a bunch of money to build a neighborhood. Okay? That's just bad business. That you spent too much money for a neighborhood. Second of all,
Mr. Rogers' neighborhood?
That whole neighborhood where his parents live, they built that. It's not a real neighborhood. That whole thing was a set. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
it's all facade.
Why you spend money on that? All BS. That's like Marvel spending
they shot it in
CGI
England.
money on a freaking gun.
Because they shot in England. Second of all, the story, I think, is to its detriment having two Barrys, having young Barry, and all the work that it took to film and the technology used to film the two Barrys and have Ezra acting with Ezra. And if you don't like Ezra, well, you're getting double dose of Ezra. And that wasn't cheap. Like, I watched how they did the volume capturing and all this stuff. Like, it's impressive, but that's going to balloon your budget. And then, because you're coming out of like right after COVID restrictions lifted, they talked about how they had to shoot the whole them versus Ahad thing on a stage. And it looks like it's on a stage. It doesn't look like they're out there.
It looks like a Mad Max trailer.
And, my problem is I'm watching this. There's not a lot of flash action in it. Like, there's little bits here and there. And then, he loses his powers. And then he has to train the younger Barry to have powers. And we don't get a lot of cool speedster stuff. And then Supergirl comes in. And she's almost wasted because she was supposed to get some, a movie or something out of this that we're never going to get. And I just think the story wasn't that good.
Never gonna get it, my love.
And bringing back Keaton was neat, but they didn't do anything with the Batmobile. They hyped that up.
That really pissed me off. That really
with the Batmobile. They tried to explain. I would have preferred them that he just went to another Earth, and on the other Earth was Keaton's Batman and Supergirl. And Zod was invading that Earth. Like, he traveled to another Earth back in time. I don't care. Or just, I don't think the story was that strong. It was too confusing doing the whole multi-causal fulcrum, it works both ways type thing. The spaghetti. And then out of all the cameos that you could have done, you did all CGI cameos. Instead of actually using footage or getting actors. I mean, I was pretty excited actually for the Nicolas Cage one. It looks cool, but at the same time, like, Nick Cage said he filmed stuff, but he also said he didn't. I don't know. He was confusing. He's Nick Cage. So I just feel like as much as I enjoy parts of this movie, and I do enjoy it, I enjoy Affleck's scene with Barry. I like seeing Affleck as Batman, even though this was a horrible bat suit. And they changed the color tone and everything in post. Wonder Woman, once again, arrives as a cameo, and they play the same joke that they played in Justice League with their lasso of truth on Aquaman. Just this time it's Batman and the Flash. I don't know. There's so much in this movie that I'm like, it could have been good. Like, it looks good in certain parts. I hate all the needle drops. I would have preferred a much powerful score with a theme song for the Flash, something that when you hear the music, you're like, that's the Flash running. I told Bryan, from the opening shot of the movie, I was worried because why do you have to make a clock CGI on the wall? Like,
I don't know why I didn't notice
so
that
just
right away.
that at the beginning, I'm like, okay. And then I don't know, like, it just, the humor was okay at times. It just could have been better. And not really having an antagonist, I think, hurt it. Because it's just about Barry's lesson. So I don't know. And I'll say this to you guys, like, I think Keaton's a big deal for a certain generation, but I think for a lot of people it was not. It was like, whatever, who cares? Because they didn't grow up with it, and it didn't really mean anything to them. It meant something to us, because that was like when we were kids, that was Batman, and people older than us. But anyone younger than us, they don't care that Keaton's back. It's like some old guy being Batman. So, all right, James, you're up.
So I mean, The Flash, what do you expect from a movie where, the first time he runs from Central City to Gotham City is the most exciting bit of the movie, is the best part of the movie, and then the rest of it is downhill from there?
Yeah, dude, my eyes widened and my mouth dropped when they did that first opening scene, and then I was like, wow.
Tyler and I looked at each other and we're like, yes, this is how you do it. And then that was it.
And then it's just stopped. There's some cool bits, some decent things that were done. I really enjoyed the movie the first time I saw it, and it's okay. I do think there are some really cool bits, some exciting action pieces. It was cool to see Keaton's Batman really get to kick some ass. But other than that, it was just fan service, It was an interesting explanation of time travel. And I thought it was simple enough that people would understand it without too much overly scientific jargon. That would, allow general audiences to just kind of go with the idea.
My thing is, make it simple. Just do Back to the Future rules. Everyone understands it. It's so simple if you don't want to get overcomplicated in time travel.
Yeah. I did like how they kind of used the end of the world that existed previously in the DCU with the Black Zero and them trying to terraform Earth into Krypton. There were some bits of it that were enjoyable, things that I liked, but I didn't like the humor, how overly abrasive Ezra had to be, because that's just like one of those things where they turn it up. They turn it up, just the bad stuff. Everything post. I don't want to say post Birds of Prey, because it was in Birds of Prey, but that's also the character that was the focus of that Harley Quinn movie.
Yeah.
I mean, that is how that character is and how it's portrayed. But everything after that, every character had to be that way. Just extra and over the top. Excellent. It was so. It just I soured on the film a lot since it first came out.
All right, Finch, your turn.
I guess I'm the odd man out, because I mean, I have only rewatched it once since I saw it in the theaters. I do own it, but I've only rewatched it once. And I may be in the minority. I know after everybody talked about the movie, they're like, oh, Sasha Calle was amazing as Supergirl. And I'm like, she was cool, but she wasn't. I don't think they did enough with her.
Yeah,
Michael Keaton.
No.
Okay.
No, so they did it.
Yeah. Yeah, she was just too moody. Like, sorry. And it's like, you cut Henry Cavill and gave us this. There's a lot of stuff I did enjoy about this movie. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff I didn't enjoy. The CGI was good, but it wasn't great. And then it was at times horrible. Definitely towards the ending.
They relied way too much on it, so they couldn't really pull it all in.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the ending, we're expecting these cameos because it's the multiverse, all this stuff. And like you said earlier, like everything was CGI. And I did like the two Barrys, their dynamic, because it's like, because we've been on this journey with Ezra Miller's Barry Allen, and we saw how he was, and then he points out is this how it is when everybody meets me, kind of thing, yeah. So I thought it showed some growth. I don't know. Michael Keaton kicks ass, so that was cool.
Did you guys watch Titans when Beast Boy traveled the multiverse?
Yes, into the red, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That was handled so much better than the way they did the multiverse in this film. Because even then, though they weren't able to get cameos, they were able to use clips and sound and stuff that made you feel like it was real. Compared
even in the CW, when they would cut to an Earth that was getting destroyed, you would at least have the characters look up and be like, "Oh crap," you know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's just if this movie had been in production and then had to, for example, and I bring this up again, The Batman was in production for 18 months because it started filming, shut down, COVID, then started again, and then Robert Pattinson got COVID. They had to shut down and then start again. Okay? And that movie looks seamless. Okay? If this movie had started filming, shut down for COVID, then started again, there's some more leeway I would give it for certain things. I'm like, okay, I understand. Because of the restrictions of movies that were if you want to watch a horrible film that you can tell was shot right as the COVID restrictions lifted, was Death on the Nile. That movie is shot with some bad CG, and you can watch the spaces, the spatial arrangement of the characters, of how they're 6 feet apart and everything. You can tell that movie was as soon as COVID was restrictions lifted, they were filming. If this movie had been like that, I would allow some things to slide. But there's some choices made in this movie that I'm just stuff that was done that wasn't even funny. Like the tooth, and then having to glue the tooth back in. It's not even funny.
And then ending on the damn tooth. It was so horrible and stupid.
And then when was Barry's mom Latino? How is Ezra Miller Latino? Are we not even going to address that?
Hey, she was awesome in the movie, though.
She was awesome.
She was one of the best parts.
Yeah.
If not the best.
And his relationship with her was a strong part of the movie that I enjoyed. So,
all right, the Bry. It's his turn. Let him have it, Bry.
Oh, hey guys. I love the Flash and Green Lantern more than I love Superman and Batman. And I've been waiting for a Flash movie forever. And when Grant watching that first episode of The Flash, and then them announcing, so good, and them announcing the movie the next day, they didn't announce Ezra that next day, did they? They didn't ask him right away. Okay, so watching that first episode and then seeing Ezra announced right away, I was like, why aren't they just using this guy? Why not use Grant? And I understand them wanting to keep it separate, but I still don't think that helped them in the long run. I still think that if they would have used Grant, it probably would have been better. Just my opinion. I love Michael Keaton as Batman, but I'm with you because if they would have went with a kind of maybe original plan, or maybe someone had this plan of getting Jeffrey Dean Morgan to be Thomas Wayne and doing Flashpoint that way, this movie would have blown it away.
they didn't have to do Flashpoint just like it is in the book.
Sure.
You know,
But they also
could
had
have
all
done-
the pieces in place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
I didn't need to see like the Amazons going to war with the Atlanteans, but you could have just done a Thomas Wayne story with Barry. I think would have worked.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Absolutely.
saying. Like we talked and said, like, would Bale have been better? Bale wouldn't work in this world. Bale was in too realistic a world.
It wouldn't have worked in the world, but I think hype-wise, it would have been bigger because I think you would have had more fans. Because you would have had us, people older than us, and people younger than us.
Well, you know how
Bale was
big.
their
You know
Batman.
you also know how big Jeffrey Dean Morgan has been in the last handful of years with The Walking Dead and stuff. Like
Yeah.
if they would have promoted him as this brutal Batman also come this movie, like I think that would have helped.
I think we needed, like, I don't think we needed Keaton. Bale wouldn't help. If it would have been Jeffrey Dean Morgan in that, gray with the red and we would have had this moment of him, because the whole story of this Batman, this Ben Affleck Batman, is he's been doing this so long, he lost faith in people. He lost hope. Superman kind of brought that back. But a good ending for him would have been him getting that letter and doing that. If they would have done that, that would have wrapped up Ben's story fantastic. That, like, I'm an old man now. What the hell have I been doing? What did I do?
It goes back to that line in BVS where he says to Alfred before he goes off to fight Superman, where he says, "I'm older than my father was."
Exactly.
You know?
The movie needed Jeffrey Dean Morgan. That would have made it really, really good.
You would have got that brutal Batman. You would have got the scene with the letter. So we would have been bawling our eyes out at Ezra with his mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would have been bawling our eyes out with
exactly
Ben Affleck getting the letter.
Exactly. You get it. I think some of the humor wasn't too bad. The Eric Stoltz thing with Back to the Future, I thought that was kind of funny. Barry running without powers and thinking he did have powers, that was kind of funny.
That was funny.
But it went over the top a lot of things. It's not what I wanted from a Flash movie. It didn't really even feel like a Flash movie. I wanted a Flash movie with him versus the Rogues and just him.
Just him.
Yeah, just him. I'm more of a Wally guy than a Barry guy, but I think that if James Gunn is going to take the Flash in a few years, it needs to, without a doubt, be a Rogues movie, a standalone movie, maybe a little cameo of Green Lantern in there, something like that. This movie didn't deliver on anything that it needed to do, period. It didn't reset anything. It didn't give us anything. It gave us this little thing with Aquaman that he could be Lobo in some universe. Like, it didn't deliver on anything it needed to. Like, even Michael Shannon, the amazing actor that Michael Shannon is, one of the best parts of the movie, because he's just so good as Zod. He looked awkward at times because of CGI. The CGI was just trash. He didn't really get to shine very well. It was just kind of like in there, like we need something for Barry to do, like a threat. The best part was the stuff with his mom. That was it. And if they would have released this maybe on Mother's Day, maybe it kind of like would have hit better.
Yeah.
Just a little bit earlier. But it was not anything I needed in a Flash movie. I did like seeing Keaton again. It was good to see Keaton, but you didn't do anything with the Batmobile, so it didn't feel like you really needed Keaton, like at any part of the story. So to sum up, what I'm trying to say is it didn't deliver in any way that it needed to for anything, be it a Flash movie or Flashpoint. It didn't do anything. Like, it just exists. And that's all I have to say about that.
Well, tell us how you really feel, Brian.
It's bullshit that we didn't get him versus the Rogues, and that Grant wasn't Flash, because Ezra was good in Snyder Cut, and only in Snyder Cut.
I mean, I'm not upset that Grant wasn't, because if Grant was going to be the Flash, like, you'd have to really explain it. Because I think about how long it took to make this movie would have, messed up the show, because the show was good until Eric Wallace showed up. But that's another whole conversation.
But I mean, it is the Flash who can run through timelines and all that stuff. So
he's the Flash.
It could have worked. So
I mean, they could have made it work.
It's summed up in one scene, my dear. One scene, my darling boy. The crisis scene in Crisis on Earth, where they both meet each other. That's all you needed. And then, as a reset Crisis, Grant became that Flash for the movie.
Oh, see, there you go. There you go.
I'm not some amateur. You think this is amateur hour?
Yeah.
And also, even on the CW, they gave us multiple versions of Barry. We had 3 different Barrys with John Wesley Shipp, Grant Gustin, and Ezra Miller. So for Barry to be the same when they're all different.
Yep.
that's true.
It's just why wouldn't you, when you have a guy that has so much controversy with him? Like, I know you filmed so much of this movie. I know you did.
The movie was already done by the time that controversy stuff had.
And the problem,
but you could have ended it on a footnote with Grant showing up.
Yeah, when he's running back, you could have just changed it, and then the same thing what they did with Batman. It's like, why do you look different? And it's like,
yep.
I said that to Bryan before. Like, I said he's like running through time, and then when he emerges at the end, it's a different person. But it is what it is. Sadly, I mean, this was probably the movie I was so hyped for this year. Because Salo loves the Flash. So, but all right, here we go. As stated before, we're skipping Blue Beetle because it really exists kind of in its own bubble, and we've heard mixed things from Gunn about where Blue Beetle falls into things. So,
yeah,
as of right now,
Solo is supposed to still be Jaime Reyes going forward, and the Blue Beetle movie, it exists in a DC universe, but there are no specific details on any specific DC universe, one with a story that has been told or one that a story has yet to be told.
So we'll get into the final film.
Yeah. But I definitely want to go into what James Gunn said, because we're dropping this on the 1-year anniversary.
Yes.
So we'll get into that. Oh, Aquaman 2. If you want a good Aquaman review, listen to Bryan the Guys or Finch break it down.
Yeah, for real, it was good. First of all, this movie was done, and then they did test screenings, and then they did some reshoots, and then they had the whole Amber Heard thing, and they retweaked it, and you can tell it's not as bad as Justice League with the reshoots, but there are some scenes you can tell like that feels off. This movie's so fresh. We did reviews about it, but I think what's crazy is this movie is supposed to come out in November of 2020. No, it was December of 2022. And The Flash at one point was going to be November of 2022. And then this got pushed out to December of 2023. So this movie was done, and then they did some reshoots and edits, and they stripped out. There was a cameo of Batman that was Ben Affleck. There was a Michael Keaton Batman scene. Both of them were removed. Any connection to the bigger DC universe from this movie was removed. So it makes it really feel like a standalone film. But you can tell it was tinkered with. And like Finch said, they went to Momoa with this movie. Instead of keeping him reined back, they let him just be him. And he you go back and you watch him in Zack Snyder's Justice League, he's got a really good character. And then you can see how that character evolved into the Aquaman character. In this movie, you start to see less of the character and just start to see more of just Jason Momoa. And it's sad because there are some scenes that are really good, but then there are some scenes where he just goes a little too much. And there's a lot to say, but we both said it all in our reviews. I've only watched the movie once. I wanted to get back to the theater to see it again, but haven't. It comes out on digital on Tuesday. But yeah, it was never designed to be the last movie, the button on the DCEU. It just ended up being that in the shuffle. So, all right, James, you go.
Well, just the idea like how many connections did this movie have to the overall DC universe to begin with? How many were taken out? How many were shot only to be taken out? Like if this movie was as it appeared to be, or as it ended up to be, a very much a sequel to the first film and not much else, why did it get pushed so far? Like, why couldn't it have come out before The Flash or anything like in the shuffle? So I enjoyed the movie for the most part.
I think a lot of it was the effects. I mean, There was that huge thing where things got pushed was because of effects houses, and there is a lot of effects in this movie.
Yeah. Quite a bit. I mean, there was a lot in the first one. I mean, it's basically Aquaman movies. Both of them are basically Star Wars underwater. Quite a bit of effects. A lot of different creatures, beings. Same thing as the other ones. You can see some reshoots, some close-up stuff that was clearly done on like a soundstage or in front of a green screen. Things that looked unfinished, and other things that looked like they've probably been finished for a while, and that unfinished stuff was reshot. Like, it's just, it's upsetting to see how mismanaged the entire property has been, trying to change up every step of the way, first trying to take everything out from underneath and substance out of every Zack Snyder film, to taking his movie away from him. Same thing with David Ayer. Just every single step of the way, every movie, knee-jerk reactions, to all the way to this point. It literally never stopped, Every single movie was like an answer to the last film. Like, oh, well, what do screeners say we should do with this movie? Instead of actually making a movie, what is going to bring the most people in instead of a good movie? What crappy quip, what crappy, short-term thing is going to bring in people for this one movie instead of, building up an actual universe and trust in the brand instead of damaging it every step of the way?
He's right. When you're right, you're right.
Yeah.
Like, it did so much damage. You're right.
I mean, Tyler already said it. Like, it just, for being the final film in this epic saga of DC, it was a disappointment, man. I mean, they had some cool stuff in it, but it was sad, man. Like, it ended in a whimper, and it's just like, oh man. And to be the only movie that made $1 billion, and that's what we got. I don't know. I don't hate the movie. There's a lot of stuff I did enjoy, but it was just, yeah.
Yeah, there's none of these movies that I actually hate. I'm willing to watch just about any of them, but the farther and farther it's gone, and the last few movies that they had released, Blue Beetle honestly being the exception, it's like the quality just bottomed out so hard, so fast.
Yeah, all that studio interference and just, I mean, and then, yeah, I don't hate any DC film that we've gotten. I mean, the one that comes closest is probably Wonder Woman 1984 and Justice League, obviously. Everybody, but
those are the two.
Those are the ones that, like, I will not, I mean, I don't want to say ever rewatch, but I think I've seen them once, maybe twice, and that's
I can say pretty confidently I will almost never watch Justice League ever again.
Well, yeah, because we have Zack Snyder's already, so we got the original real version. So, but even that, it's not a masterpiece. I'm sorry, and I really enjoy it, but it's too long.
Because they didn't get to finish it. You know,
that too. Yeah,
they didn't get to finish the story.
It's part one of what we should have gotten. So,
yep.
Brian,
you got anything more to say there, Finch?
That's it for me. I think we covered a lot of our Aquaman stuff in our review, and
we definitely did. Yeah, I mean, I just like we said in the Bryan the Guys episode review of this. This movie is almost like Patty Jenkins did it. Like everything is so Momoified. Like everything is just like James said. Everything's just so amped up. Like there's no holding back and saying, okay, Aquaman is this character. Now it's full on Momoa. Just do whatever the heck you want. I am Aquaman. Ending like with that, like acknowledging kind of like MCU type stuff. Just weird. Ocean Master could have been such a great villain, and he just they Hawkeyed him. Like Finch and I said, they Hawkeyed him. Like just I don't know. It made the DCEU go out with a whimper. It didn't get me so excited for the future. Well, I mean, there is no future, but like if Jason Momoa was to stay Aquaman, I wouldn't be really excited about it. I said Patrick Wilson would have been so much a better Aquaman. And I think I said in the Bryan the Guys episode, but I want to say it again because it needs to be said. You had so many opportunities in this movie for him to lose his mother flipping hand, and you didn't do it. When Momoa was cast, I'm like, there is Peter David's 1990s Aquaman. Like, that's it. He's got the armor, the shoulder armor, not wearing a shirt because that's how Zach intended it, because Zach knows what he's doing. He looked awesome. And what the hell? Why didn't he lose his hand? Like, he could lose his hand saving his son. Like, why didn't you do that? Like, it's your last movie. Who freaking cares? Like, you can do it. Just do it. Just let me have the harpoon hand. Let all the fans have the harpoon hand and have him be the Aquaman of the 90s that he was probably intended to be.
And they didn't kill the baby.
They didn't even kill the baby, man. Come on. Kill the kid. Or kill Mara. Do something. But it's just, there's so many opportunities. So this was without a doubt just a waste of opportunity to at least end on something strong. Like, this is your $1 billion movie. Like, this is a sequel to your $1 billion movie. And you gave me a movie that only made like 160,000.
Do we want to say that James Wan gave up? He tried, okay. Right?
That's a good statement because
I just feel like the studio took over, did their thing, and because Dolph Lundgren said that there was a cut that he saw of the film that he liked, and he wished they would have kept to that. So we know that Juan had a different cut of the film. His original
Juan wanted to do a whole universe of Atlantis and all the different races.
Kingdoms.
7 kingdoms.
Yeah, all the different kingdoms. Like, he wanted to do his whole thing. He wanted to make this like Lord of the Rings Under the Sea, you know? Like, he wanted to make it so huge. And yeah, like, studio involvement. And that's the end of my rant there.
So, all right.
But
so
I have that pulled up of what James Gunn said if we want to tear it apart.
Yep. So, Brian, go ahead and give us some of what James Gunn said.
All right. Let's tear it apart word for word. Hey, everybody, I'm James Gunn. Are you James Gunn? I'm the co-CEO of DC Studios. So 1 year ago, he announced this and did this whole rant. So as many of you know, DC has been disconnected in film and television for a long time. No kidding. Our jobs, mine and Peter Safran, the other producer, is to come in and make sure that DCU, officially DCU, they never officially called DCEU the DCEU. And like that was given by Entertainment Weekly reporter, wasn't it, Tyler?
Yep.
They want to make sure that DCEU is connected in film, television, gaming, and animation. That the characters are consistent, played by the same actors, and then it works in one story. So right off the bat, that says that whoever does the voice in animation is going to play it in movies and gaming. That's what it means to me. Is that what it means to you guys?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. And it works in one story. If something is outside that, like Matt Reeves' Batman or Todd Phillips' Joker or Teen Titans Go, it's clearly labeled as Elseworlds, outside of the mainstream DC continuity. So right off the bat, he separates Matt Reeves' Batman and Joker movies, separates all off the bat. Way to go. Now, Peter and I have got...
real quick, is Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League? That's separate because that was made before this announcement, right?
Yeah. Thank you for saying that, Finch. You're totally right. That's not included.
Yeah, there hasn't been anything really he's put out yet.
No, yeah, yep. But yeah, you're totally right, Finch. It's not part of DCU. You're totally right. So he says Peter and I have gotten pretty lucky in terms of the 4 projects that are coming out over the next year, meaning in 2023. First, we have Shazam: Fury of the Gods. Shazam has always been kind of its own part of the DCU, so he connects very well. He says Shazam's its own part of the DCU. So that makes me wonder, is the intention at this moment that Zach Levy would be Shazam in the future?
I mean, at this moment, all he's doing is he's opening possibilities for what's already happened because Shazam hasn't interacted with anybody yet. I mean, we talked about...
Well, Superman.
And Wonder Woman in the last one.
Well, soon to be Wonder Woman.
Or you mean this is before the movie came out, so we didn't...
Yeah.
He said this 1 year ago today. So this was the very start of...
Yeah, but we all know that things were tinkered with right up till release. Yeah. So...
I mean, he changed the post-credit scene, though, right?
He sure did.
To include his wife, Harcourt, and Economos.
And the GSA, yep.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the original post-credit scenes, they wanted the actual JSA members, but Dwayne Johnson wouldn't let them have the JSA members. So, I mean, all this is just kind of that Hollywood spin of wait and see. Like, if it works out, then yeah, we could keep him around. But if it doesn't, yeah, we can move on.
Yeah, I guess so. They says that moves directly into The Flash, a fantastic movie that I really love that resets the entire DC universe. Bull to the shit. Then to move into Blue Beetle, a fantastic film. He likes saying fantastic a lot. A fantastic film about a kid who's a marvelous part of the DCU. And that's all he says about Blue Beetle. It's a fantastic film about a kid who's a marvelous part of the DCU. That's all he says. and then into Aquaman 2, which leads directly into our next few projects, which I'm going to tell you about now. So he barely says anything about Aquaman 2, only that exists, and that Blue Beetle is a part of the DCU. That's all he says. So he doesn't acknowledge that, Aquaman, he doesn't do any of that. Then he goes in and says, so Peter and I, along with a group of very talented writers, have started to map out an 8 to 10 year plan for what DC Studios will be in film, television, and gaming. The first chapter is called Gods and Monsters. Now this, and what I'm about to tell you, is the part of the first chapter, but not the entire first chapter. The first project is Creature Commandos, which we should get this year, right?
Yeah.
Am I right?
We should.
Okay. The animated series, he's written all the episodes as of a year ago. And something we're going to do a little bit different in DC is we're going to have the characters move into animation, out of animation, usually having the same actor play their voice as who plays them in live action, which I think is a fantastic idea. I think that works great. I'm excited to see David Harbour as Frank's son. Hell yeah.
Didn't they announce the dude that played Crossbones? He's going to be in there too? As somebody? Not who he is yet.
Oh.
Yeah, he's Rick Flag Sr.
Oh, yeah? Nice.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah. Help me out, guys, if you know stuff.
Frank Grillo.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't remember his name.
Frank Grillo, yes. Says next up is Waller. This is the story of Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis, one of the very best casting that ever happened for DC. Viola Davis is going to team up with members of Team Peacemaker, and this story created by Crystal Henry, who did Watchmen, the show Watchmen, and Jeremy Carver, who created Doom Patrol. It's a fantastic story that's out of this world, and I can't wait for people to see it. That might happen this year too.
Jeremy Carver also created something called The Tick, and also worked on Supernatural.
The Tick, awesome. Supernatural, awesome.
Didn't Jeremy Carver also showrun Doom Patrol?
Yeah.
Yeah, he said that.
Yeah.
I got faith in that one then. Doom Patrol and Peacemaker, yeah.
He's one of those talents that I'm like, oh, okay, yeah.
Bangers, total bangers. Okay, next up is the big one, the true beginning of the DCU. This is called Superman Legacy. This is being written by me. I'm in the middle of it, and I'm having a great time doing it. And Superman will be released in the theaters July 11th, 2025. Has that date changed since?
No.
Okay, so sticking to that.
I thought it did get pushed back to September. No?
Nope.
No, I don't think so. No, it's not pushed. Then he mentions this, something that I'm extremely excited about, and I want more about. The next big thing is a big premiere HBO television series called Lanterns.
Yeah.
This is the story of a couple of Green Lanterns, Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan. And we have a few other lanterns peppered in there. But this is really a terrestrial-based TV show, which is almost like True Detective, hell yeah, with a couple of Green Lanterns who are space cops watching over Precinct Earth. In it, they discover a terrifying mystery that ties into our larger story of the DCU. So this is probably what's going to really kick things into gear of what's the big threat, the DCU threat, the Thanos of Gods and Monsters, if you will.
And we already know one Green Lantern, right?
We already know Nathan Fillion is going to play
Guy Gardner.
We have no idea who's going to play Hal Jordan. We don't know who's going to play Jon Stewart. We don't know anything, but they better get on that. The next big movie called The Authority. The Authority is a passion project of his. It's based on the marvelous Wildstorm characters you're bringing to you, and will interact with all of our primary DCU characters. The Authority are a group of superheroes who think the world is broken, and they want to fix it by any means necessary. It's a very different look at superheroes. One character of the Authority has been cast in Superman Legacy, right, Tyler?
Yes. The engineer.
The engineer. I don't know much about the Authority. It's something I need to read. but I will get into it. They're going to do a television series called Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost is the story of Paradise Island, usually known as Themyscira, which is the birthplace of Wonder Woman. It's almost like Game of Thrones with Westeros, with all of the inhabitants of Paradise Island. That could be interesting, but didn't they cast Cersei? Cersei is cast in that? Is that what happened recently?
I mean, she was cast, but not for Paradise Lost.
Oh, okay. I'm a little worried about that. I that doesn't sound.
I think she was cast for Creature Commandos, and it was
okay.
The woman who plays Yennefer from The Witcher.
Oh, okay. I think the only way to make that show good is if they're throwing the gods in with it.
Yep, and make it all about the Greek mythology aspect.
Yes, that's the only way that's going to probably work for me. The introduction of the DCEU's Batman is The Brave and the Bold. Brave and the Bold is the story of Batman and his actual son, Damian Wayne. This is based on Grant Morrison's great comic book run. Damian Wayne is James Gunn's favorite Robin. He's a little assassin that Batman tries to get in line. So this is the story of the two of them and the beginning of the Batman family story in the DCU. So the beginning of the Batman family story is going to start with Damian, for gosh sakes. So
we better already have Nightwing. He
better already have Nightwing. There better be a Jason Todd. There better be a Tim Drake somewhere. There better be a Batgirl. There better be an Oracle. There better be something. And we better get some movies or some show or something that's gonna like give them some credit. Because if we're gonna go boom into Damian, I don't know, man. That's going to really hurt the rest of the Bat family, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's jumping.
What do you think, James?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What? Okay, so if they're going to start with Damian as the DCU
Damian,
Robin,
that's right.
Doesn't that?
No,
really
I think if they're going to drop in, at that time, like Damian in there, I think that you need to drop in with time already passed. This needs to be Batman in his prime, who's already taken, you know, like you said, other Robins under his wing. I think that cutting out and eliminating it, if you give more room for these other characters to come in, you just offer up more stories to be told. You can have these characters interact. You can we definitely need a Nightwing. We need a Dick Grayson. I like Jason Todd. I like Red Hood.
Yeah.
I think they need a Red Hood in this universe.
I'm okay with starting with Damian if you've already given me, like you said, there's already the Bat family established, and they're already there in some form.
Yeah, like they do, like how Marvel and Sony did with the Spider-Man movies. It's like you already kind of have Spider-Man established, you know? So give us this and have Batman established. I already have the Bat family established. We're meeting Damian. And then you could bring in the other characters and be like, yeah, this is my protege, my adopted son, you know, and just as he's introducing them to Damian and stuff, you know.
There's a reason why Bryan and I have talked about this and why I like the idea of Damian. It deals with the term legacy.
Sure does, but we'll bring that back up when we talk Superman Legacy Hope or whatever. No, I don't know. We can talk about it now. I think that I think the Superman Legacy needs to bring in Jonathan Kent. If they're going to have Damian Wayne already there, then they need to bring in Jonathan Kent, and then the movie with maybe the birth of Jonathan Kent,
and then the sequel Time Jump, so we can get our Super Sons.
Boom, done.
We still got to do our ranking, fellas. So got to do our ranking.
We will. So then he wants to do a Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow movie. I don't think that he should bring that Sasha chick back.
I mean, they've already said she's not.
Yeah, good.
They already put out the list of the 3 top contenders right now.
I'm going for Meg Donnelly. I like her.
That's kind of where James and I settled. The one girl, I can't remember her name, but she was on Lock and Key. She'd be my number 2.
My number 2 would be the chick from House of Dragon, but it's just because I haven't seen Lock and Key, so I don't know that other chick like that.
She was on Lock and Key and she was in Coda, but the other girl who was on House of Dragons, she's not Supergirl to me.
Let's who would really be good? A Supergirl. Meg Ryan.
Who?
What? She's so old.
Meg Ryan.
Hey, but Meg Donnelly did play Supergirl in an animated series. So
she did. She's the voice right now for the Tomorrowverse Supergirl.
So
I'm just giving you guys crap.
He's
gonna do Swamp Thing. It's already being worked on. It's a very dark horror story. The origins of the monster is Swamp Thing. It's totally outside the rest of the DCU. It will feed into the rest of the stories. And then he wraps up and says, "These are stories I can tell you about right now. I love DC since I was a child. Blah, blah, blah. Appreciate you watching. This matters to me. Superman Legacy coming soon." So, so that's why I would put Blue Beetle into the DCU. That's what I would do. And Tyler, take it back.
All right, boys, it's time to. What is your ranking of our final rankings of the DCEU?
So do you want to do like
15 films?
Do you want us to all to list it one by one? Do you want to do a round robin? How you want to do it?
We'll start.
I don't know. You take. I like when you take charge.
We have our 15 films because we're not counting Blue Beetle, which would be 16 films. So we'll start with your bottom movie and work our way up. Are you boys ready?
I'm so ready because this is going to be the funnest part.
Okay.
I think so.
I will start with mine. I'm trying to pull this up, but I have the box window of you guys. It's in my way. Okay, I have some added rankings here. Okay, are you ready? Solomon ranks at number 16, Birds of Prey. Jania ranks at number 16. Wait, hold on, make sure. Wonder Woman 1984. Tyler ranks at number 16, or 15 technically. Wonder Woman 1984. All right, James.
Justice League.
Okay. Bryan.
Okay, I have Cousin Steve's and mine here. Cousin Steve put his number 14. Wait, is he missing a movie?
It's 15 movies.
He's missing a movie on this list.
Does he not have both versions of Justice League?
He does. He's missing something.
Aquaman 2?
No, he has Aquaman 2. He has Shazam 2.
Did he see Aquaman 2?
Yes. He's missing
Man of Steel, BVS, Suicide Squad, Wonder Woman, Justice League, Aquaman, Shazam, Birds of Prey.
Why do I have 15?
Suicide Squad, Black Adam.
Oh, he's missing Black Adam.
Oh, no. Well, you can just throw that at his bottom 15.
Okay, that's his 15. Okay. His bottom 15 is Black Adam, I guess. Yep, there we go. My bottom 15 is Wonder Woman 84. Hands down. It's Abomination of God.
Finch?
Wonder Woman 1984.
All right, the majority has it. Wonder Woman 84 is the worst film. All right, my next one, which would be number 14, See, all my lists have Blue Beetle included on it because I made this a long time ago, and so it just kind of got thrown off. So that's why my numbers are a little off. All right, so Jania's number 15 or number 14 is Justice League. Solomon's is The Suicide Squad because he's never got to watch it, and mine is Justice League. James,
1984.
Bryan, and Cousin Steve.
All right, Cousin Steve's number 14 is Justice League. And then my number 14 is Justice League.
Finch.
Bryan saw my list a little bit beforehand, but I had changed it right before this.
Oh.
And Justice League is mine too.
I mean, I think everyone bottom two is kind of the same.
Has to,
like,
yeah.
You know, even other people I've heard ranking them. But I'll put Justice League on in the background before I put on Wonder Woman 84. All right. The next one, number 13. For Jania, it's The Suicide Squad. For Solomon, it's Suicide Squad. For me, it's Suicide Squad. James.
Suicide Squad.
Bryan and Cousin Steve.
For Cousin Beeves. He hates that name, I know.
I know that's why we're using it.
Is Suicide Squad. And mine is Birds of Prey.
Finch.
Well, Bryan took mine. Mine's Birds of Prey. Harley Quinn.
I know Finch and I know it's going to be pretty close.
All right. So the next up for Jania is Suicide Squad. For Solomon, it's Justice League. And for me, it's Birds of Prey. James.
For me, it's The Flash.
Ooh. All right. Bryan.
Cousin Steve, number 12 is Shazam! Fury of the Gods. And my number 12 is Suicide Squad.
All
And
right, Finch.
Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
All right. Next.
You're my boy,
Number
Finch.
Number 11. Number 11 for Jania is Birds of Prey. For Solomon, it's Wonder Woman 84. And for me, it's The Suicide Squad. James.
Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
Ooh. For Cousin Beeves, he put Wonder Woman 84.
That high?
Boggles my mind. Well, he also said Deadpool is a better comic book character than Batman. I don't know. He's family, so I got to keep him around, but good God. And then my number, what are we on? Number 11. My number 11 is Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
All right. Here we go. Next.
What about mine? No?
Oh, sorry, Finch.
Mine is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
Interesting.
That is interesting. But
okay.
I will say I have my Aquaman somewhere, but upon further review, I might move it. But okay, so the next we're on number what? 11? 10. Sorry. Jania's is Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom. Solomon's is The Flash. Mine is Black Adam. James.
Mine is The Suicide Squad.
Finch.
You want mine?
Yeah, we ain't going to skip you this time, boy.
All right. Mine's Black Adam.
Black Adam. Okay. Cousin Steve, number 10 is BVS. Batman vs. Superman. And my number 10 is Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom.
Okay.
All right. So the next one will be number 9. Jania is Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Solomon, it's Wonder Woman.
The first one?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Sure,
And for me,
Better do something about your boy.
and for me, it's I get it though.
Tyler.
I get it for him.
Nah, it's
and for me, it's the Flash. So, all right, James.
Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
This is number 9, right? Number
Yeah.
9 for Cousin Beeve is a movie that gave him his name, The Flash. And then my number 9 is Black Adam.
And then mine is The Flash also. So.
I wish we had all these like in front of us. We could see where we like intersect on the same. Okay, so the next one. So we're at number
8,
right?
Yeah.
So Jania has The Flash. Solomon has Shazam! Fury of the Gods. And I have Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom.
Mine is Birds of Prey.
All right, Bryan.
Cousin Steve, number 8, right? Number 8 for Cousin Beeves is Aquaman: Lost Kingdom. Number 8 for me is The Flash.
And number 8 for me is Shazam.
The first one?
I do like that movie, but I like other ones more. So.
All right. Okay, here we go. So we're at number
7.
8. So are we at 7?
Number 8? 7?
7.
All right, for number 7, Jania has Man of Steel. Solomon has Aquaman. And I have Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
Mine is Shazam.
Okay.
Cousin Beeves is Shazam. And my number 7 is Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice.
All right, Finch.
Mine is Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad or The Suicide Squad?
The first Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad.
My bad.
Will Smith.
All right.
Ah.
So, next up,
Number 6.
number 6, Jania has BVS. Solomon has BVS. I have Aquaman.
I have Black Adam.
Finchy D. Finch.
I have Aquaman.
Aquaman is number 6. Cousin Beeves has Birds of Prey as number 6. I'm just grateful to have family, but good God. My number 6 is the Snyder Cut.
Really? Interesting.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Okay.
So part of my ranking thoughts are, does the story overall DCEU, does the story make sense, and does it stand alone? Kind of like, can it fit by itself? And also, how many times am I going to rewatch it? I do love this movie, but what hurts it for me and why I rank it just a little lower is because all the stuff that doesn't get solved, all the stuff that doesn't get ended. I mean,
that's not the movie's fault. That's where it goes. Like, when you make a movie and you're expecting a sequel, like, but I hear you.
I understand, but overall DCEU ranking, the DCEU, I had to put stuff a little higher.
I mean, my rankings are based on how often is it a good movie? Do I like the story? Is it a well-made movie?
Sure is.
And how often am I going to go back to it? So, like, that's how mine are too. Like, will I just throw this in and watch it? Yeah. All right, what number are we on?
We're on 5.
So, Jania has Aquaman. Solomon has Man of Steel. I have BVS.
My number 5 is Aquaman.
Nice. Finchy Finch.
Just so you know, I have Blue Beetle on here, but not so that's ranked higher. But my number 5 is Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I had to skip over like Blue Beetles. That's why I have to keep reminding myself what numbers, because all these were made with that on there.
Yeah,
decided not to.
Mine's on there too, but it's just one off, you know.
Yeah,
Cousin Steve put Wonder Woman at number 5. I also ranked movies based on like, am I going to rewatch it? That's why Flash is ranked just a little bit higher. And BVS is ranked a little bit lower because kind of like it pissed me off. Like, that's why I don't rank it as highest, even though Ben Affleck Batman was so good. But my number 5 is Man of Steel.
All right.
You're a bitch.
Number 4.
Hey, Linda. You're a bitch.
Right.
Number 4.
Yes.
This is my ranking, bitch.
Number 4, Junior has Black Adam. Solomon has Shazam. I have Wonder Woman.
My number 4
James.
is Batman versus Superman.
What bitch?
Yeah, mad points, James. I'm disappointed that you said versus. That's not the name of the movie. It's V.
Batman v
You're one of those
Superman.
people.
Yes,
Even in court, they still say versus.
No, they don't. Nope.
He's been to court. He reminds us every Thursday.
Hey, every time I have to go for work, I'm like, go to court, guys. Big case.
Yeah, I don't care.
So,
Oh, do they not?
Brian's a douche, but I still love him.
Mr. Douche to you.
All right,
Call
Finch.
me Mr. Douche. My number 4?
4.
Yeah, 4.
Yep.
Sorry, because Blue Beetle is messing up. Man of Steel. You guys are going to hate my number 1, so.
You're going to hate my number 1 too, probably. Number 4 for Cousin Beeves is Aquaman. And my number 4 is Aquaman.
Nice. All right, here we go. Number 3 for Jania is Shazam. For Solomon, it's Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
Ooh.
I think. No, wait. Yeah. Hold on. We're on number 3, right?
Yes.
No, his was Black Adam. I say that. His number 3 is Black Adam. Sorry. My number 3 is Shazam. I love that movie. It's one of those. It's a feel good movie I can put in anytime and just enjoy and smile and laugh at.
All right.
So that's number 3.
Yeah, my number 3 is
James.
Wonder Woman.
Finch.
My number 3 is The Suicide Squad. I like how it took a turn, you know, like from all the DC movies we were getting. This was a breath of fresh air.
I mean, I'll agree with that.
You don't agree?
The rated R version hurts it for me because I can't just throw it on and watch it as much.
This isn't your kids' ranking.
around.
It's your ranking, bitch.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, I don't review it. I don't go back to it that often because I can't just throw it on in the background. So
I just like how he took like characters that nobody ever talks about and gave them the spotlight, you know.
Absolutely.
And Starro, man, and he brought in Starro. So yeah,
Love Star. Yes. So Cousin Steve did Snyder Cut is a number 3. And my number 3 is the near perfection that is Wonder Woman.
All right, here we go. Number 2, Jania, is Zack Snyder's Justice League. Solomon is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Yeah.
Didn't you already say that?
No, because I said the wrong one.
Solomon loves that movie. It's ranking
it's
everything.
on there twice.
I flipped it because I had to compensate for Blue Beetle. My number 2 is Man of Steel.
My number 2 is Zack Snyder's Justice League.
That's my number 2 also, Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Cousin Beeves, his number 2 is Man of Steel. And my number 2 is Shazam 1. I love that movie. The humor in it is just fantastic. Zach Levy is great. I love Shazam, period. Just so much heart in that movie. And his mom just abandoning him, and him going off immediately to go and just Shazam, I'm going to go save my real family. Screw you, lady. I love it. It's great. I
agree. All right, here we go. Number 1s. Jania's is Wonder Woman. And she gave a beautiful explanation of how important this movie was for women. And once again, my wife would get on these really beautiful tangents. And I wish I would have had something to record it because I didn't have my phone with me. But she talked about how it meant a lot to her. And then now having a daughter, like how having a strong female character in film is important. Solomon's number 1 would be Zack Snyder's Justice League. And my number 1 is Zack Snyder's Justice League.
My number 1 is a Man of Steel.
Bitch.
I feel like that's an obvious one, right?
Well, I'm just waiting for your number 1.
Yeah,
Bryan,
I could have predicted that for James.
Yeah, probably
on day 1. Yep.
I love that freaking movie. I have multiple copies.
I have 2 copies. Yeah.
I probably actually have more copies of Zack Snyder's Justice League at this point, but that's just because of how crazy staggered the release was and everything for different versions and different copies.
Technically, I bought 3 copies of Zack Snyder's Justice League. So I bought the digital.
Yeah.
I bought the 4K, and I bought the DVD.
I bought the Blu-ray from Amazon.uk. I bought
I got my 4K.
I bought the 4K when it came out in September in the US, and I bought it digital when it dropped digital.
All right. What's Cousin Beeves say?
Finch, what's your number 1?
No, go ahead.
Okay, Cousin Beeves' number 1 is the Suicide Squad.
Now we'll go to Finch. We'll break up Bryan because we're all waiting to see.
Mine is Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Ooh, full time.
I know. It's one of the worst movies on this list.
It's not.
No, it's not.
Movie.
No, it's not.
I saw that movie 5 times.
Not in the least.
I debated people left and right about this movie, why I love this movie, and it's the first introduction of the Ben Affleck Batman. I feel like people who are like, Superman's so mopey, yada da da da, and it's like, no, dude, you don't understand what he was going through. He's just trying to be a good person and save people, and everybody's just giving him shit, like how we are in this world. We just do everything, we can't appreciate anybody, you know what I mean? And I just love this movie. I'm sorry. Plus, there's a character named Finch in the movie, so she dies, but Senator Finch.
You don't have to be sorry. It's a great movie.
Oh, I love it.
I mean, it's another one of those Snyder makes epic movies and then they try to cut them down, and that's to the detriment of the story. Because even the expanded version, I still think there's more deleted scenes and more story that he had for that film, and I feel like it kind of should have been engineered to be 2 movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we would have gotten a better story, and we would have gotten a better response if you had made it into 2 films and had the first film focus on Batman v Superman, and then the second part be Dawn of Justice, and then it starts with Batman and Superman together, and then you introduce Wonder Woman, and then that's when you bring in Doomsday. But all right, Bryan.
The biggest bad thing was Doomsday in that movie, I think. Shouldn't have happened.
All right, Bryan.
So, the process of elimination. While watching these movies over again, I can't tell you how many times I added this dang list. So many times. I had Snyder Cut number 1 for a good while. And then I had I even had Man of Steel at number 1 for a little bit, and then Wonder Woman. I like just adjusting and stuff. And my number 1 is the Suicide Squad.
The Suicide Squad.
See, you know what? You did it. I wasn't gonna say it. I thought we were gonna be all good, and I'm just you're wrong. You're wrong, and we're not friends anymore because that's what the internet says. Because you're wrong.
Yeah.
Support James Gunn, right?
You know what? I love you, buddy.
Good.
And I visit you at least twice a year. And you know what? I love you. So you can say whatever you want to me. I'm just going to keep on loving you. Because it's the only thing that I want to do. I don't want to sleep. I don't want to eat. I just want to keep on loving you.
Your number 1 DCEU movie can be the Suicide Squad. We're all good.
And it is because like it's kind of like Finch said. It's a breath of fresh air. Like, we go in this movie and James was building up all these different characters, Mongao and Javelin, and TDK. You didn't really know what he was because in the comics he's just known as like arm fall off boy or whatever, but he changed the name to TDK and you weren't really sure what Nathan Fillion was going to do. It's just ridiculous. Like it's just so funny. It keeps me laughing. It made me care about characters that like nobody cares about.
Polka Dot Man.
Like what's that?
Polka Dot Man.
Polka Dot Man was great. Like everybody had their own story. Everybody worked with each other. I do prefer King Shark to have more intelligence, but I understand why James made it that way to kind of like tell the story that he has no friends. No one loves him. Like no one likes him. Like all he knows is just eating and violence. So like him trying to be accepted and have a family and stuff, like it's just so good. John Cena is freaking hilarious in it. So funny. The music hits at the right parts. Like when they're putting bets on people of like who's gonna make it, and they're like, "These are my friends who would die," and they're all like dancing with money. Like it's just fun, and it makes me have a lot of hope for the DCU and where James Gunn's going to take things. Because like if James Gunn's proved anything, he can take people that don't really matter and make you care. So it makes me, and I think Tyler and I talked about this recently. It's very interesting to see what James is going to do with a character you cannot make creative changes with too much with Superman, because like you can take Peacemaker. Who knew Peacemaker? Not many people knew who the hell Peacemaker was, and he made him relevant. So to take someone like Superman, and it's very interesting to see what he's going to do. And so I love that movie. I think it's hilarious, and it's probably what I'll watch, many times over.
He gave us the hero we never knew we needed, Milton.
Damn, Milton?
Milton was awesome.
The Milton. He's been with us this whole time, man.
But that's it. That's our button on the DCEU. The last thing that James and I have to record for the DCEU is a commentary on Aquaman 2 somewhere down the future. But let us know your rankings, dear listeners. And remember to check out Bryan the Guys. Bri, thanks for being here. Finch, good to have you back, man.
Thank you,
James. Awesome sweater.
Thank you.
And remember,
Look up in the sky.
We just want to say if you've enjoyed this podcast, please check out other podcasts on the Press Play Podcast Network.
If you are like Tyler and James and can't get enough Super Talk, check out these other podcasts. Digging for Kryptonite, Supergirl Radio, The Last Sons of Krypton, The Superboy Legacy Podcast, All-Star Superfans, Superman the Animated Podcast, The Aspiring Kryptonians, Always Hold On to Smallville, The Geek of Steel, and Truth, Justice, and Hope.
Remember to check out Krypton Report on all social media platforms. Go to linktree.com/Krypton Report. You find all of our information.